Welcome back to the channel, Adventures Through Climate Change with your host, me, Trevor. I'm sitting right here in my chair as we take this armchair approach to learning about climate change. What we do on this channel, in case this is your first time, we watch other people's videos and read their articles, and we try to diagnose what the heck is going on. We got climate extremists, we got climate deniers. Where do we fall into place and what's right? If you've watched a video, you know where I stand. After watching one video, you probably know where I stand. But let's check it out. Let's get into the video that we're actually going to be watching today, which is valuetainment short clips. Always subscribe. Climate skeptic makes controversial claims about the reality of CO2 levels in the atmosphere. I wonder if that's controversial claims that I'm going to agree with or disagree with. Let's check it out.
Challenging to meet the climate targets that they have. We keep going lower to the coal charts. China continues to rely heavily on coal, which is what you just talked about. Energy consumption in China by source. You see where they're at. Look at that. From 65 till today, what it looks like, which is insane. And then Xi on the bottom makes a prediction about what they're going to do with coal. Go a little lower right there. Make it a little bit bigger. President Xi says China will phase down coal use from 2026 and will not build new coal-fired project abroad. But some governments and campaigners say the plans are not going far enough. Researchers at Tsinghua University in Beijing say China will need to stop using coal entirely for generating electricity by 2050 to be replaced by nuclear and renewable energy production. So, okay, so that's this part. Now, can you pull up the other two charts that Musk put up, the two pictures? So here's what Musk was explaining, and I want to really kind of get your feeling on this. What does this mean to the average person that's watching this? So here is what CO2 looks like from 1960 to 2015, right?
0.04%.
And this is part of the speech that Musk gave. You look at this, the average person is going to be like, well, Pat, that's not really a big deal. But when you zoom out and you look at it from 1,000 till 2015, that's what it looks like, okay? How this has grown in that time period. So anybody that looks at this will say, this is deeply concerning on the growth that we had from whatever, 1950s till today. Can you unpack this, please?
Yes. Do you want to go to my PowerPoint? Beginning of my PowerPoint, I actually have this same chart, I think, from Al Gore's movie, basically. Keep going, right there. Zoom in on that. That's basically the same chart. The second yellow, where Al Gore is where his projections are. But I believe the chart you just showed is where that first yellow dot is. That's what looks intimidating. Couple things there. That's ice core data from Antarctica, and it's CO2 and temperature. The red is the CO2. But what Gore doesn't mention is that the temperature leads the CO2. So as the temperature goes up, the oceans emit more CO2. He makes you think that CO2 then drives the temperature. That's point one, which is a technical point. And even his producer in a children's book reversed that and said that CO2 leads temperature when it's the reverse. Now go to the next slide. And that's if you look back further in the geologic record. There you're going back millions of years. That's Al Gore's high point. And this is a key point here. And this is in but when you talk to a
How many years back is this?
This is going back 700 million years or so, I believe that.
Who gets data from 700 million years ago? How do you do that?
It's based on all sorts of, basically data from everything from sediments, lake bed, rocks.
People have a hard time believing a book came out 2,000 years ago called the Bible and Jesus, let alone 700 million years ago.
Supposedly it's from the ice core sediment and what's in there, because when you drill down 1,000 feet, 3,000 feet, and you're pulling up these samples of different times that the ice has been melted and then reformed and melted and reformed, supposedly you can tell what the CO2 concentration at that time was. And I'm sure he's right. I'm sure in rocks and other things they're going to try to figure that stuff out. Now listen, I went to school for biology and health science. I am not a scientist. I'm a realtor. I sell real estate. But I love science. Okay? I love learning about this stuff. But I happen to also realize that most of the time we're wrong. And we push propaganda that we believe because that's what we believe at the time. It's what our science supports. But I think it was Carl Sagan that said 80% of science is propaganda, meaning that whoever's writing the check for the grant to pay for the science tends to usually be right in the outcome. I'm just going to leave it there. But when you're leading things, we're in interglacial, right? It's going to continue to get warmer until we hit ice age. That's what happens. So I don't know. Anyways, that's
they could be off on the year. I don't even know if they are off on the year. They're pretty confident in it, but that's a different argument. You're talking about young Earth creation.
I wonder if they use Excel back in the days.
But here's the key: 90% of Earth's geologic history had CO2 levels higher than today, and 90% of Earth's geologic history was warmer than today. We're in the 10% coldest, 10% lowest CO2. We've had scientists testify to Congress that we are in a CO2 famine. So if you look at it, the Earth has been, 90% of the history has been too warm to have ice at either pole. We're in the 10% coldest part. So what Gore is showing you is a little snippet of Earth's geologic history. Now go to the next slide. What do I have? I think this is according to NOAA. This is an actual chart, and the Biden administration's up on their website showing Earth's history much hotter than today. And this is a quote from the NOAA website. Past temperatures much too warm for ice sheets or
two of them. Unskippables.
Exactly what I'm saying, and they go back 500 million years. Now you could argue about that, and but that if you're going to accept the other science, you got to look at this.
I agree.
And you see the blue chart. That's today. That's an idea. Now, if you go again, I think I have the UN chart, but I don't know that I do. Yes, this was in the first United Nations report in 1990. Look at the medieval warm period. Showed it as warmer than today. This is important because this is what Elon Musk is using, and what you brought up. We had a scientist named David Deming, University of Oklahoma, come testify before the United States Senate Environment Committee in that after that 1990 UN report, which this chart was featured in, the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the gold standard, if you will, that the UN scientists started an email campaign and started contacting, we have to get rid of the medieval warm period. Why would a climate activist scientist chosen to work with the United Nations want to get rid of the medieval warm period? Well, because if current temperatures are not as warm as the medieval warm period, it's hard to scare the public about it. So that led to the whole creation of the hockey stick, which was done by Penn State professor Michael Mann, who just recently moved to University of Pennsylvania, which was called statistical rubbish. He went through and used all sorts of proxy data for climate, and he smoothed out the medieval warm period. He smoothed out this is just the northern hemisphere because we don't have real good data for the southern hemisphere, but he smoothed out the little ice age, and he made a hockey stick, meaning the 20th century showed this great big temperature. These are temperatures, not CO2, this chart. This was critical because people need to know that when originally the UN report, the science hasn't changed in the past. You could argue our understanding of it, but then you get into what they did, the lobbying campaign. The professors received an email saying we have to get rid of the medieval warm period. Lo and behold, they got rid of it a few years later with a very controversial chart that has been roundly attacked, even by people who believe in a climate, climate is a huge problem, discredit it, and even Michael Mann's own colleagues in the UN ClimateGate emails revealed it. So go to the next thing. I don't know if I have any other chart here. Yeah, actually, this is a chart exaggerating trend. Global temperatures since 1880. We always hear, this is done by the Greenpeace co-founder Patrick Moore, who's now a big climate dissenter, if you will. But that's showing you the global temperature, and I believe that's tenths or half a degree. The key here is when they claim that things have gone skyrocketing or unprecedented, the hottest year on record, the hottest decade, it's within tenths, hundredths of a degree. Not even measurable. It's within the margin of error, within the margin that they adjust the temperatures. It's a fancy way for them to say, 2006 is the hottest year on record, but it's not statistically different from 2005 or even sometimes it was 1998. So essentially it turns into the last 25 years, we haven't had since late 90s, we had very little warming. But then if you go back to the 1970s where they start a lot of the baselines, we've had a lot more warming because that was a little ice age. If you keep going, I believe I have an EPA chart. Just one other point on since we're doing charts. Keep going a little faster. More and more. Keep going. You'll see a temperature chart. That's tipping
this guy's
point.
going off on the left, huh?
Well, let's stop there. That's a good one there. I'll stop here. This is a CO2 chart that shows you since 1960, the same chart. But here's the other thing, and this is what I focus on. These are UN meetings. The UN Earth Summit, 1992, you see Rio, Berlin. There's Kyoto, 1997. If you go up, you can see Paris. That's 2015. You can see the lockdown.
Curve.
Everything they've
With
talked
nicer
about,
hotels.
everything they've tried has failed to reduce
We're at the
CO2
Holiday Inn
emissions.
here.
It's all window dressing. It's a fancy
We're at
way
the
of
Suites
saying
here.
we need to convert to a technocratic socialist system in order to control the climate because this.
Bingo bango. I'm going to leave it there. I mean, this dude said enough. I completely agree with basically his whole premise. They've lied to us. They're going to continue to lie to us every time they can get us scared and divided. Because when people get scared, they do, some rise up and they take care of it, but most get divided with people that especially they don't know. That's what they're doing, people. We need to wake up. They're doing it to us. Okay, we're all the same. That being said, maybe I earned your subscription. Maybe not. Maybe you're going to revoke your subscription at this point. Maybe I earned a like. Maybe you're going to lay down a comment and maybe I might reply. Probably not. But if you lay down a comment, it will get read. It will get read, and I appreciate it. I appreciate all the views. I appreciate everything. I hope to catch you on the next video.